So now we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem a little bit. So the Pythagorean theorem applies to when you have a right triangle. A right triangle means there's a right angle, which is 90 degrees. Okay, I don't know why I wrote that. That's going to be in my way. But when you have a right triangle, then you have two sides, A and B, and then the long side, the side that's across from the right angle, that's C. That's called the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. So C is the hypotenuse. Well, when you have a right triangle, you're going to have that. You're going to have two sides, two shorter sides, and then the long side being the hypotenuse. Then there's a relationship, and the relationship says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so that's the Pythagorean theorem. Here in this example, it says find the length of the missing side of the right triangle. So it's a right triangle indicated by that little square. I have one side that's A. My other side is 4, so that would be like the B. And that's going to equal the 12 squared. So remember, I'm using A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A is A this time, B is 4, and C is 12. Okay, to solve this, we're going to have A squared plus 16 equals 144. All right, subtract 16. By the way, before I subtract the 16, that's a quadratic equation. So let me erase that for a minute. Okay, that's a quadratic equation right there. And so how do we know which method to solve? Okay, so let me talk about that. There's no A term. There's an A squared term, but no A term. And so I'm going to be able to get the A squared part by itself. That means I'm going to be able to take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to subtract the 16. And now I'm going to get, let's scroll that up, A squared equals 128, right? Okay, 6, yeah, okay. So that means I can take the square root of both sides. So square root. Okay, now everybody's probably at home watching this going, she didn't put the plus or minus. Well, here's the thing. In a triangle, we're finding this length. That has to be positive. You can't have a negative length. So one time I don't need the minus part. Okay. So I'm going to get A equals. Now I want to simplify. Let me write this again. The square root of 128. I want to simplify that. I know 4 goes in. I think 16 goes in actually, but let's do 4. 4 goes into 12 3 times, so 32. Okay. And then, well, 16 goes into 32, right? Okay, now you might be saying, well, you've got a little mess there. Okay, what I can do is I can take the square root of 4, and I can take the square root of 16, and then I have this leftover 2, so that has to stay in there. And so I get A equals 8 times the square root of 2. Now, that is correct. They could want a decimal approximation. Now, if they do, you just get a calculator to do that. I had to run and get a calculator. And it's like 11.3137. But they'll tell you like how many decimals to round it off to. Because this is a measurement. But this is an exact answer. They could ask for a decimal approximation.